So, good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining Community Woodlands Association this evening for our webinar, Ticks to be feared and not to be respected, rather, not feared. That's a good start, isn't it? I'm delighted to have with us Dr. Norman Lanigan, who is a well-kent face for CWA. He wears many hats. Not only is he part of the Lyme Resource Centre, but he's also a trustee of Easter Breach Woodland Community Group and West Calder and Polbeth Community Group. So two groups in the Central Belt area that he supports. And obviously he is here today with his Lyme Awareness hat on. He's also going to bring with him, hopefully, Arlene Braley, who is one of the trustees of LRC, who leads in partnership development. And I also have today with us Andy Rockall, who is the director of Community Woodlands Association. I'm going to hand straight over now to Norman, and we'll take the session from there. So welcome, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much. Can we take this opportunity, please, just to announce that we have delighted to say that we've formed a formal partnership with the Community Woodlands Association in order to promote our activities, and I'm delighted that Andy's here, and he might want to say something about the partnership from the Community Woodlands Association perspective. Andy?
Yeah, thanks, Norman. Similarly, very delighted and happy to have entered this relationship, this partnership with yourselves, with the Lyme Resource Centre. As Norman is a well-kent face, the Lyme Resource Centre is a well-known, very reputable, very knowledgeable expert resource in terms of Lyme and Lyme-borne ticks and Lyme-borne diseases. And we share with them the ambition that people should go into the countryside without fearing ticks, but being aware of ticks and the issues that they bring. So Norman, I'll hand back to you, and thank you very much for your willingness to enter this relationship with CWA, and we look forward to working together.
Yeah, thanks very much, Andy, and can I just pay tribute to Andy for helping us get to this stage of having a formal partnership. Wouldn't have been able to do it without Andy's help and assistance in doing that. Thank you very much, Andy. What we're hoping for from this partnership is that the Community Woodlands Association will raise awareness of what we do with members, and actually direct them towards the resources. All the resources, I'll explain a bit more about it in the presentation later on, but all of our resources are available free of charge. I'll talk a wee bit about what the Lyme Resource Centre is during the presentation, but every resource is there. It's there because we want people to enjoy the outdoors, and as Sharon said, I'm a trustee of two community woodlands. I enjoy them very much. But I do realise that you need to manage the risk, the increasing risk from ticks and tick-borne disease, which is what the charity exists for, to help people do that and to help health professionals better able to treat the disease Lyme, which results from some of the tick bites that people might get. So that is that. The other thing I wanted to raise awareness of, you might all know that May in the UK, and welcome to our colleague Gonzalo from Uruguay, who's here today. That's a first for me. We've had with somebody from Uruguay. I hope you enjoy it, Gonzalo. In the UK, May is Lyme Awareness Month, and this is the month where we're particularly busy because we use it to do a lot of social media activity. You'll find a post from, if you follow the LRC on either Facebook or on X, you will find that we post a different key tip every day during the month of May. You'll also might notice as you pass some landmarks in Scotland that they're lit up green, and that is the colour of Lyme. The colour green equals Lyme, as you might expect, and you might see some of our iconic buildings, not the Kelpies this year, I would say. They are being lit up for the Victory in Europe Day, different colour, but you will see the Wallace Monument, for example, lit up green during this month, and that's why it's lit up green, because it's Lyme Awareness Month. So going on to what I'm here to talk about to you tonight is ticks to be respected, not feared. And I've picked that title in particular. This is a message that I like to put out because we do not want, the disaster for us would be it prevents people from actually enjoying the outdoors, and I'll talk a bit about that later on. But they need to be respected because they're an increasing problem, as I'll talk about later on as well. And they need to be managed so that we avoid any explosion in the disease, in particular Lyme, that might result from that. So here's a little bit about the Lyme Resource Centre. It's a registered Scottish charity. It was established in 2019, rapidly growing now, and it was established by our lead trustee, Professor John Lambert, who's a consultant, infectious disease consultant in Dublin. So we've quite a lot of activity in Ireland, the Republic of Ireland as well. Our team includes pharmacists, herbalists, other professionals, patients and carers as well, who people who are concerned about Lyme disease in particular. We derive our resources through public donation, and we have no paid staff. All the work is delivered by people donating their time as volunteers. So our mission is to minimise the risk of people suffering from Lyme disease, whilst encouraging the enjoyment of the outdoors. That's really, really important to us. Through providing information, which I'll talk about later on, and also educating health professionals about to help them make better diagnosis of Lyme and to help them treat Lyme disease better, because as I'll explain later on, the earlier you recognise the symptoms as a sufferer, the better, and the better outcomes for you if your health professional that you consult actually recognises those symptoms as Lyme disease and actually treats it appropriately. And I'll talk a bit more about that as we go on. There you'll get, and I think Sharon, we will be sharing these slides, I'm sure at some point, or they'll see it from the recording. You can see I encourage you, sign up to follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you'll get useful information if you do that. So, key message from us, I want to put a few key messages across. And the first key message is enjoy the outdoors. Do not stop enjoying the outdoors because of ticks. That is the first message we do. The health benefits. I'm a retired pharmacist. I've spent 40 odd years in health, and I know that one of the best ways to stay healthy is to be active and enjoy the outdoors, both healthy physically as well as mentally. I became a trustee of a community woodland because I'm not being over dramatic here, folks, but during lockdown I was retired, and I guess the community woodland I'm now a trustee, one of the community woodlands I'm a trustee for, literally saved my life, because otherwise I don't know how I would have coped without being able to enjoy that woodland during lockdown. So it is such an important thing to keep enjoying the outdoors, because it's by far the best way for you to stay healthy. But what we advise is be tick aware and take preventative measures, because if you do that, then your risk of contracting Lyme is much, much reduced. And there's some simple things I'll take you through that you can do now to help you prevent the risk of ticks. And the advice we give is prepare before going out and check for ticks when you return indoors, so that, because the quicker you remove a tick, if you are bitten, the better. So what are ticks? And you'll be surprised the number of people, and I'll share with you some information that we got from people who suffer from Lyme disease, and you'll be amazed at the number of people who'd never heard of ticks. And so they suffer from Lyme disease, they don't not a clue what they were. And this is what I mean about people look at these pictures and think, this is scary. These are scary things. Yeah, they look scary, but you know, they're tiny. This is the size of them. Ticks are small, blood-sucking arachnids, so they're related to spiders and to mites. They have 4 pairs of legs. They can be as small as a poppy seed, particularly the early stages of life. And they live in moist, shady areas, so woods are perfect for sheltering ticks, perfect place for ticks. When ticks feed, so you might find a tick that looks a bit like a coffee bean, attached to you, and that's because it's been feeding on your blood. And as it feeds on your blood, it can pass on diseases if the tick itself is infected with those diseases. So that's why people contract Lyme disease. So first piece of advice is learn to dress properly, and we have resources that helps you learn how to do that. And the key bit of advice is keep the skin covered. I know in weather like this, it's so tempting to go out walking with shorts on, etc. But that's just classic how you pick ticks up. Keep skin covered, long sleeves, long trousers, tucked into socks, because ticks go on the move. They can get on your clothes and then actually get into your skin later on. Light coloured clothing we recommend. It helps you to see the ticks more easily if they're on your clothes. Use insect repellent and also spray your clothes with that insect repellent so that the ticks, if they do end up on your clothes, they can't really get anywhere near your skin as they crawl along the clothes. Carry a tick removal tool, and I'll show you some options later on for that. And we recommend that so that you can remove a tick quickly if you find one. Keep to well-maintained paths, because where ticks quest is that they sit on the end of long grass and they wait until a nice meal, juicy meal goes by and then quest themselves onto you. So if you can avoid walking along grass or touching foliage, that's why dogs get it all the time. How can you stop dogs running through the long grass? That's what they love doing, and that's how they get it. So check for ticks after being outside is the next thing. Check your clothing. Inspect your hairlines, your groin area, behind the ears, other places where small ticks are hard to spot. So these are moist areas, and that's the kind of places that you're likely to find them. And if you have a routine when you come back in, just checking for them, that'll help you. So what about your likelihood of finding ticks? Well, we think climate change is having a big impact on how ticks behave. It used to be the case. The reason May is Lyme Awareness Month is that used to be when ticks started to become active, so when the weather improved. But milder winters mean ticks are sighted earlier later in the year. We've had reports of ticks all year round now, and I think that's going to be the trend as we move forward. We encourage parks and green spaces in towns and cities, so urban ticks are much more common. If you'd come to me even 10 years ago when I was a practicing pharmacist, and you'd said to me, I think I've got Lyme disease or I've had a tick, I'd say, have you been in America? Because you don't get them in this country. Surprisingly, there's still a lot of healthcare professionals still believe that, but you can get them anywhere. You can get them in parks, you can get them in your garden. I had an email, I was saying earlier on, I had an email from somebody saying that they had their tick encounter in the garden in the Western Isles, and that's 26 years she's lived there, and she's never seen a tick in 26 years. So they're on the move, they are becoming more prevalent, which means that Lyme disease is likely to become more prevalent as well. So what we know is that migratory birds can aid the spread of ticks as well, particularly ticks that carry diseases, including Lyme, as a common route into this country. So where do you find them? Where do we know? So it was a big tick project, and this was run by veterinarians. And what they did was they surveyed ticks that were found on dogs. Over 1,400 veterinary practices, and what they found was the biggest density, surprise, was Scotland. Yeah, if you see the purple. So, Scotland's always the top of the league for anything that's to do with health or problems. Scotland is the top of the league. And also, interestingly, down in Cornwall, you can see in the southeast of England as well as a hot spot. But as I said before, they are on the move. Ticks. They are pretty much ubiquitous now. you can be infected any time of the year, but the greater tick activity always says March to September during the sort of warmer months. So it's becoming, there was an interesting study done by some mathematicians at Stirling University, and they modelled what it would look like under the different climate change scenarios. And you're talking about a 4 to 10 times increase in the number of ticks based on the climate change projections. So it's definitely something that we're going to encounter more and more. So what about tick bites? If you were unfortunate enough to get a tick bite and find one, then they can cause Lyme disease and other tick-borne infections. And for the first time, I used to, as a pharmacist, we used to carry emergency tick bite encephalitis vaccine, and we'd never seen it. It just went out of date, nobody's ever used it. And last year in Dumfries, we had a case. So this is probably related to this climate change induced increase in incidence of tick bites. So how do you know you've got a tick bite? Well, the first thing is painless, because they're clever little blighters. They inject local anaesthetic into you. The reason they do that is because they don't want you to find them, because the longer they're there, the more they can feed. And that's what they exist for. They don't exist to put disease into you. They want to feed on you. That's what they want to do. So ticks feed on blood and they become engorged. That's where they might become that coffee bean size, you might see. And not all ticks carry the infection that causes Lyme as an organism called Borrelia. Not all ticks carry it, and in fact we think the incidence is somewhere between 0 to 16%. So even if you get a tick bite, doesn't mean to say that you're going to get Lyme disease. It's not a given. They can carry and transmit other pathogens, different types of things here that cause different diseases. And the longer the tick is attached, the greater the risk. So it's really important to find them and remove them quick. They can infect any time of the year. Spring, summer is the most likely. So where are you likely to be bitten? Well, it's where you would expect if you don't cover completely. It's in adults, it's mainly the lower limbs and arms. And that's because you're brushing through grass, etc. That's how they get there. Kids are more likely to get their head right into things, etc., and neck. So they're more likely to be infected around the head area and chest area. And sometimes you can get bitten indoors because your pets might bring them in and they can crawl around your carpet until they find you, and then you can get bitten by that as well. So it's another important thing to look out for. So in terms of protecting pets, there's lots of things can be done there. There are some of the flea treatments will also kill or repel ticks. And vets can help with canine Lyme vaccine if you want to protect your dog from, because dogs can get Lyme disease as well. Avoid walking, I don't know how you do that with dogs, because dogs just love running through the long grass. And check your animals. That's the key thing for ticks when you bring them back. I'm sure I saw one of our participants, one of our people who are here today, just say you've just been picking ticks off the dog. Well done for you, because that's exactly what you should do. So it's not just in rural areas, as we've said before. Ticks are now common in urban areas. Hedgehogs, mice and foxes, all of which are prevalent in urban areas, are carriers of ticks. And you can just as easily get a tick bite in urban areas as you do in some of the wild areas that we all sort of associate with Lyme disease. We asked people via our social media who suffer or have had a diagnosis of Lyme disease if they would answer a few questions for us. And this, I think, was really, really interesting. About a third of them didn't recall a tick bite before they got Lyme disease. So that's that thing about ticks being completely and utterly painless, the bites. Not easy to see, not easy to spot, and and there was 54% not aware of the need to protect. So this is why we exist. This is my interest as part of the LRC, to try and raise awareness of the public. 63% not aware of the signs, symptoms. We're going to talk a wee bit about the signs, symptoms of Lyme disease, because as we move on to it, what I'm hoping to get across to you is it's really important to, if you suspect them, to get it dealt with quickly, because what we're trying to avoid here is the longer term effects of Lyme, which can be life changing for some people. And I'm going to give you some personal stories about that, so that you can understand the effect of that on people. Also, if you look here, you can see where people think that they picked up the tick. So mostly walking, running, gardening isn't a huge numbers as well. So even simple activities, you don't need to be a roughy tufty hill walker or go into the depths of a forest to actually contract this problem. You can get it undertaking simple things like gardening. So this is the reason we exist. This is why I lead the sort of public awareness bit, and this is what I want to try and improve. This is clearly an issue that the public are not aware of this. So how about removing a tick? First thing I'd suggest is take a picture of the tick when you find it. The reason for that is you can take it along to your health professional if you get early signs, and you can show them, I had a tick bite, here it is here. If you do that, that will help the healthcare professional make a quick diagnosis, which is really important. What we don't want is them confusing it with insect bites or something else and treating you incorrectly, because that could be a bit of a disaster if that happens. Remove it carefully, quickly. Longer the attachment increases the risk of infection. So the longer it's there, which it wants to be there for a long time because it wants to feed, then the more likely that it will pass the infection on to you. If you carry a tick removal device, and there are several of these, a card remover or a tick twister, I'm going to show you how a tick twister should be used in a minute or two. That's probably the best type of tick twister, but they're not convenient to carry around with you, particularly if you need to carry different sizes for different sizes of ticks. So the LRC will, through our website, you can access. This is the only thing we do have to recover. We charge for these, but you can credit card size tick removal tools, and there's a video on our website to show you how to use that. So you can use them, or you can use fine pointed tweezers, because the sort of eyebrow removal ones are too thick and they squeeze the head of the tick. And squeezing the tick, burning the tick with a cigarette is not a good idea, because it then vomits its contents into you. Right, quickly. That's the response to the tick when it's stressed, is to discharge its contents of its stomach into you, and that is the last thing you want. So don't cover the tick with any substances or anything like that, and don't squeeze the body. Try and avoid that when you're removing it. So here's a little quick video just to show you how you should use a tick twister. Okay, and thanks to the Royal College of General Practitioners who produced that, and I think that shows you the key thing there is, you see it's called a tick twister because the way to use it is actually to remove the tick straight out. So twist the tick's head so that you avoid the breaking off from the body, and then you gradually pull it out. So you're trying to bring it out whole, so you're avoiding overstressing the tick and then avoiding it vomiting its contents of its stomach into you, which increases the chances of transmitting the diseases that it carries. So what is Lyme disease? Well, it is not Lyme's disease, right? It's called after the town in America where it was first recognised. So this is Old Lyme in Connecticut. So it's Lyme disease, and this was discovered here because of a whole cluster of cases of an unusual disease, and then it was linked to this infectious disease caused by the bacterium Borrelia burgdorferi, which is a spirochete type organism. And it was discovered by a Swiss-American medical entomologist, and Dr. Willy Burghofer, in 1981. So it was a typical way we sometimes find infectious diseases, where similar to COVID, for example, where you find a cluster of cases and people scratch their head wondering where these have come from, and then they discover the infection and then they link it to where that infection came from. So it's transmitted by the bite of an infected tick. Now here's some data on the incidence of Lyme disease. Now this in no way is probably a drastic underestimate. Nobody knows what the actual incidence of Lyme disease, because we don't look for it. It's quite interesting in the UK. Nobody reports it. There's no requirement of your GP to report it in the UK. So this is probably an underestimate. It's based on lab confirmed figures, and the test is extremely limited. It only confirms Lyme disease when the disease is active, but it's a funny organism. It can hide in the body, and when it's hiding in the body, the organism, it's not producing antibodies, and the test detects antibodies. So this is probably a serious underestimate, but the key thing is to show how much it is rising. So it's a rising and a common problem. So what to look for, because this is another key thing we want to get across here, is the bite is generally painless. It won't itch. If it does itch and it's painful, it's probably not been a tick. So tick bites are generally painless and they don't itch. So that's the first thing. What to look out for, in particular, if you get this, what we call bullseye rash, this is diagnostic of Lyme. If you get that, you've got Lyme. Right? That's diagnostic, and it needs treated immediately with antibiotics. You need to go to a healthcare professional and show them that rash, or take a picture of it before it disappears, so that they can see that rash. That rash is diagnostic of Lyme. But not everybody gets that. In fact, only about a third of people might get that, and it might not look as clear and obvious as that one. And so you need to look for things like flu-like symptoms, tiredness, headache, nausea, muscle and joint pain, and remember your tick bite, because that's the key thing. If you go to your GP or a pharmacist with that, they'll probably give you paracetamol or something like that, tell you you've got flu. So you need to remind them you've had a tick bite, tell them the story. I was walking, found a tick, here's a picture of it, all of that. Then that will help them make the correct diagnosis. And remember, ticks can transmit other infections too, not just Lyme disease. So talk to a healthcare professional if you get any of these symptoms as soon as you can, because it is vital that you get treatment, because you want to avoid the long-term effects. I don't think Arlene has joined us yet. Has she? Arlene, you're not there? No, I don't think so. She has been unable to join us.
Norman, we've got a couple of questions. I don't know if you want to
answer
them.
Please.
So
please.
One of them is about the tick remover. Do you always turn it clockwise? Or is that
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you turn it, as long as you twist it. So if you're left-handed, it doesn't matter. What you're trying to do is you're trying to twist without removing the head and without overly stressing the tick. So you twist it and pull it up at the same time. So it's designed to sort of loosen the grip of the tick on your skin, and then you pull it straight up, not angled. That's the key thing, because that will break the head off and do it. I've got a question here about, have you not got Scottish data? No, we don't, Chris, because nobody collects any data. Well, all we've got is laboratory data. There's actually some data on, somebody's done a study on serological examination of blood samples, so blood transfusion samples, and what we found is Scotland's 4 times what it is in England. So they did the same thing in England just recently. So people who donate blood have got 4 times likely to have the antibodies than similar people in England. So it just shows you, we have people are being exposed to it in Scotland, but nobody's collecting the data. Why do you not, Chris, why do you not want to squeeze or burn remove tick? Well, just as I said, that if you stress the tick, Kezia, then that tick is likely to disgorge itself in your blood, and that actually passes a bigger dose of the Lyme disease into your blood if you do that. So you don't want to squeeze or burn it because it stresses the tick while it's attached to you, and it then disgorges its contents of its. Any other questions you can see?
Yeah, Chris has said there's been studies done here in the Western Isles.
Yes. In fact, Chris, I got an email from somebody in the Western Isles saying that they'd actually seen a tick in their garden, or I don't know whether they'd got it, but she's lived there for 26 years and she's never seen them before. So they're definitely on the move, but we don't collect a lot of data about Lyme disease and people who contract it. And also, if we do collect it, it's based on laboratory tests, and laboratory test is not accurate enough. You can still have Lyme disease and you have a negative test. You can also still be cured of Lyme disease, and the test, or you can get the test can say you're cured and you're not cured. That's the key thing. You have to go on your symptoms. So you need a clinician who understands the old way. The old way we used to do it, like healthcare professionals now all want a test, right? They want to say you've got it or you don't have it. But the old-fashioned way of doing it was you took a history from people. Like, I had a tick bite of this, I had these symptoms. That's when you want to start a treatment. But healthcare professionals always want a test, and they don't understand that tests sometimes can be limited. So that's some of the work. We do a lot of work educating healthcare professionals because we are healthcare professionals. We have a lot of healthcare professionals on our team. So this is what can happen. This is actually, I don't know if Arlene's here, this is actually Arlene's family. So I was hoping that Arlene might talk about this. But this is Arlene's son here. And Arlene's son picked up a tick while he was undertaking Duke of Edinburgh activities. And he removed it correctly on the outdoors trip, but Arlene and the rest of her family knew nothing about Lyme disease or what to look out for over the coming weeks. And Marcus, her son, picked up a real problem and his health completely crashed. And he was accused of being the lazy boys syndrome 3 weeks into his university life. And it deteriorated rapidly. He got no treatment for it because nobody could recognise what it was. And he was bedbound. Then I thought completely bedbound. And that's actually how I became involved. Arlene's a colleague and a friend of mine. And I was completely moved by this story. This was an active young man who had his whole life ahead of him, and suddenly he's bedbound, and Arlene became a carer overnight, effectively. The NHS Lyme test was negative. He was diagnosed with depression, psychiatric illnesses, chronic fatigue syndrome, everything except Lyme disease. And he lost friends, his education. He had to give up his university course, jobs, hobbies. He couldn't walk, his energy, celebrations, independence. And Arlene makes the point, if only our family had known what we will now share with you. And this is Arlene's daughter, Olivia. And Olivia, now a bit more experienced, being a dog owner, undertook regular tick checks on a Scottish holiday, and then she found an engorged tick. So that's one of these coffee bean sized ones in her bed, and she thinks it was from the dog. Olivia picked up a red circular rash, like bullseye rash, and wondered whether it was a horsefly bite or not. And then she contracted flu symptoms 1 week after the first COVID vaccine. So there's a danger there that people think, well, that's COVID, that's the vaccine that's causing that reaction to the vaccine. 2 weeks later, realised Lyme disease because the family had experienced this before and knew this is what was happening. And because they were so well informed about it, that these are the symptoms, I found a tick, I had the erythromygrans rash, the bullseye rash, then the GP immediately prescribes 3 weeks of doxycycline, which is an antibiotic, which is the correct treatment. That's the guideline treatment for it immediately. And that's quite unusual because it's 3 weeks, you know, and I spent my life as a pharmacist trying to persuade GPs not to use antibiotics, and if they did, to make sure they only use short courses. So you can imagine the pressure of the GPs if they don't really understand what the symptoms are and not to use these things. But it's a nice guideline, which means it's standard NHS treatment. And that says 3 weeks more, the symptoms continued, and the NICE guideline says 3 weeks more treatment. And Olivia went back to the GP and said, I've still got the symptoms. The GP prescribed amoxicillin. Turns out that's under treatment, you need a bigger dose. Because Olivia and Arlene knew that, they could say that to the GP, and the GP basically said, well, tell me what to do. and she got the correct treatment. And then she's had full recovery. And Olivia has no problems like her brother because she was able to spot the symptoms early and she was able to get the correct treatment. So that's a key thing, is that if you do find a tick and you do remove it correctly, is watch out for these symptoms, because if you get it treated early, the chances of becoming long-term effects such as I described with Marcus are much less likely. So, coming near the end now, folks, is all of you, I think, have something to do with your community woodland. Can you help us? Can you help us with the people who use your woodland, raise awareness of ticks and tick-borne disease, improve the understanding of the prevention of tick bites, how people should dress, provide information on tick bite detection and safe removal of attached ticks, and educate the public on the early signs of Lyme disease and action they need to take to seek appropriate care, because that's our mission here in terms of public awareness. We can help you. We've got loads of resources, all available on the website. They are printable from the website, or if you don't have access to a printer or want better quality printing than you've got available, we will post them to you. You just simply drop us a note on the website and the contact us page. Tell us what you want and how many you want it, and we will post it to you. Absolutely no cost, free of charge. We want these resources used, and you can help us. Now, here's an example. Here's one of my woodlands here. We have installed the Lyme Resource Centre signage, which advises people how to dress, where to check for ticks, and what to do. It's also got QR codes, which allows people to get more information should they want it. It directs them to our website. It also directs them to the Conservation Volunteers Trust website, conservation volunteers work in partnership with us, and they maintain a tick map. So they are trying to develop, it's a citizen science project. So the public report tick encounters, and then we generate a map of incidents of tick encounters. We also look after our younger people. So bear with me, I'm really proud of this video. I want you to show you this video. So many thanks to our partners, in particular the What Makes Viruses Tick project, which is a project run by the Centre for Virus Research at Glasgow University. And in fact, our brilliant narrator there is the son of one of the researchers there. I think he's 7-year-old, which is incredible. I think that he was able to do that. So we do a lot of work with educationalists, etc., trying to make very simple materials available to influence all ages, really. So that is available free as well. You can download it from the website. It's on YouTube, all of that stuff. We want more and more people to see these things. We make no charge for anything. So next thing I want to tell you about is that we've got a new initiative this year. It's a partnership with the STEM ambassadors. I don't know whether you know, I've heard of the STEM ambassadors. Some of you might be STEM ambassadors. They are graduates of the science, technology, engineering and mathematics disciplines. And what they normally do, they're trained communicators, and what they normally do is try and encourage people to take up these subjects, etc. And we've partnered with them to undertake an initiative called TikTok, and we are launching that this year. And what we're hoping to do is meet the public face to face. We find this particularly helpful where we can meet the public, show them our resources, talk to them about their own experiences of tick encounters, etc. Now, we've trained 19 STEM ambassadors to work with our volunteers, work with LRC volunteers, and attend in these events. So, does your community woodland promote enjoyment of the outdoors? Do they have public events or meetings? You know, I know that we have a Meet the Walkers event once a year, for example. Would you like TikTok? Would you like us to come, bring our stand with our resources? We will do that. We can do that if you contact us through the website. We can arrange that for you. So this is a new initiative this year. And as I said, we've got 19 brilliant STEM ambassadors signed up. So we should have the capacity to be able to take on quite a few of these events should people want us to do it. So very last thing to say, please visit the Lyme Resource Centre website. You'll find we've put a lot of effort in that website. It has all the materials that I spoke about today. Follow us on Facebook and X, and also note our colleague charities. They do very different things from us. The Lyme Disease UK is probably the biggest one to note. They tend to do more patient advocacy. So, you know, where patients are suffering the long-term effects of Lyme disease and need a bit of help, need a bit of support from other sufferers, Lyme Disease UK does that. We do less of that. Although we will point patients and people who are interested, who are sufferers, in the direction of quality information. So I think, Sharon, that's everything I wanted to say this evening, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Norman. Okay, Jack's put something in the chat. My vet prescribes Bravecto for my dog, which works brilliantly. However, there are stories that it's not good for all dogs.
Okay.
When spotting tick moving on my skin or dog, easiest is to use cotton bud, as ticks seem to like that material. Don't drop tick back on ground for someone else to get it.
I think that's very good advice, because that is often how people don't realise that the tick can drop off the dog and then crawl about your carpet for a period of time and then find you at some stage, which is all that's quite interesting. I haven't heard that one before. The cotton bud is a good idea, and absolutely don't drop the tick back on the ground for someone else to get it. Absolutely right. You know, I'm not. We do partner. One of our other partnerships, Jack, is with the small Animal Veterinary Association, and they are very good. If you've got any questions or anything like that, please drop them into our website, contact us, and our veterinary partners will deal with any complicated veterinary questions you have. So we partner with veterinary professionals as well.
Any other questions from anybody, or any stories to tell?
I hope I've not put you off being in the outdoors. It's eminently manageable, this issue, but it is a problem that's going to be increasingly so, that people are encountering ticks more and more now, and the increase in encounters and tick bites is going to inevitably end up with an increasing incidence of Lyme disease. Key thing there is, though, spot it early, be aware of the signs and symptoms. We are doing a bit also educating healthcare professionals. I think we've trained well in excess of 500 pharmacists this year already in terms of distinguishing between tick bites and insect bites, because they're very different treatments. We also educate GPs through webinars like this kind of thing. We go to conferences, professional conferences, and talk to GPs and specialists about how to diagnose Lyme, what to look for, how to treat it. So we do a lot of work with healthcare professionals as well.
Kezia,
yep.
Sorry, I was going to say, Kezia said that she removed 3 ticks during this column. Is that from yourself, Kezia, or from your dog? I wonder. But 3, yeah, they're definitely prolific just now, aren't they?
This is the time of the year, and the weather now. This is what they love. You know, a bit of hot. Don't like it too hot, because it makes them sleepy. But they like it just like this. Probably this is the time of the year for being very active.
So tell us, Norman, how can our members get your materials, your signs and everything for their notice boards?
The best way is go to our website and you'll find a contact us section. And on that, there's an order form. Just write down what you want. The number of signs, if it's signage, just write down signs and the numbers you do. Our woodlands tend to put them up at natural entrances to the woodlands. So it's where the public tend to access the woods. So that's where we've installed them. I installed those in Easterbreach 3 years ago, and they're as perfect, they're as good as what they were now. They're also designed, you'll notice it when you saw the picture, they're designed to be unobtrusive. We don't want to have these big warning signs, you know, we want them to attract people to look at them. But they're designed to go on existing fence posts, you know, that will even provide the screws. And if you don't have the people to, even I can put them up, and I'm no DIY, let me tell you, they're easy to put up. We'll provide the self-tapping screws. And if you haven't got the manpower to put them up, we'll get the conservation volunteers to do it for you, because they partner with us and they install the signs in areas where people can't source the labour to do it.
Brilliant. And I've seen the one at Easterbreach when we were at our exchange recently. So, and you're right, it's not a big scary warning sign, but it's an information sign that keeps people right and directs them to the steps that they need to take to stay safe. So, definitely worth getting. And Julia's saying that she used your materials at Aegis, so that's good to know. Well done, Julia.
Thank you, Julia. We're really grateful to you for doing that, because this is the whole point of this partnership, is that to make you aware of these resources and to encourage you to use these resources and tell other people about it. And because this is what I lead, as public awareness and in the LRC, and believe you me, it's the important bit. And I don't want to scare people from the outdoors. That's the last thing I want to do. But I do want to make sure people are aware of ticks and aware of the risk and know how to manage it.
Perfect, thank you. Well, Norman, can I thank you very much for your really informative presentation there. I hadn't realised that dogs suffered from canine Lyme disease, which fascinates me and slightly worries me, because my dog also has Bravecto, but you know, we go for a few weeks without having treatment for him until we get it. So yeah, I need to be on that more quickly next year, certainly, that's for sure. But thank you very much, that was really, really useful. For those people attending today, if you aren't a member of CWA and we've spiked your interest and you'd like to know more, then please do have a look at our website, where you can get all the information you should need about becoming a member. You can either become an individual member, or if you're a community group and you have land or woodland, then you are able to join us also. And finally, after every virtual session Community Woodlands Association delivers, we ask for attendee feedback, and that's primarily to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our members and our guests. making sure we provide you with the information that you are looking for the support that you should need. So it'd be very grateful if you would take a little screenshot of the QR code and complete the feedback form. And if you don't manage to do it today, I will email you all out next week with the link to the recording, the PDF of the presentation, and also the links to the feedback forms. Thank you very much, everybody, Norman, Andy, and all of you who've attended to today's session. It's been lovely to have you here, and I hope to see you sometime soon.